everyone is added here, this is where the AD team comes in. So this is what the time cards look like on the AD side. The very first thing that they do is they check in the background as they showed a set that day. Typically, they're doing that one by one here. If they have a couple of people they need to check in at the same time, they can do that in bulk. Pretty much any feature you can do on this platform can also be done in bulk, so it definitely speeds it up for the ADs. And as background are checked in, it'll show over here on the side so they can just do a quick scroll and see who's been checked in for the day. It will also update the number here at the top so they can see how many people have been checked in. After that, they're verifying the I-9. So we have the digital I-9 here. And it's just a PDF version of the I-9. They can see all of the information here, as well as the attachment. So passport, ID, social security card, whatever was uploaded there. The background's typically bringing this to set with them as well. This just ensures that the payroll company will also have this without the ADs needing to take a copy of it on set. It will already be attached there to the I-9. And then as long as everything's good here, they just hit verify, and that will verify it for the rest of the project. So it only has to happen at one time. And if something's incorrect, they can also hit reject here and just send it straight back to the background for them to resubmit that. And then once they're ready to start adding in all of the times, like I said, you can do everything in bulk if everyone has the same information, but we'll go ahead and just do 3 people here. Go to plus call time. And they can type this in any way that makes sense to them. I typically just do 8A for 8 a.m., but you could type it out. You could do military time, really whatever their preference is. Regardless, it will show up. It will default like this here, regardless of how it's typed in. Go ahead and add a meal time. Any additional times that need to be added here, NDB, grace, any bumps will be added in the same way. Most of our bumps do already exist here with rates. Right now, I only have non-union selected. That's why I only see a non-union rate here. If you had union background, you would also see that option as well. And this can be changed if needed, but typically those rates do match per union status, so those shouldn't need to be changed by the ADs. And they can also add their own bump by calling it whatever they need to and putting in their own amount there. If night premiums or meal penalties apply on a project, those will automatically show up over here on the right-hand side. We can go ahead and try and create one here. That's something before the project gets started that our team will check in with the accounting team just to make sure that all of the calculations are set up correctly. So you'll see here, based on those times I put in, some meal penalties were applied there. Night premiums would work the same way. So after we've confirmed the calculations, those will just apply based on the times the ADs have added there. That way they don't have to calculate that or forget to put it on there or anything like that. Those will just be automatic. And then after they've put in the initial times there, they'll come in and put the wrap time, which will pull the current time but can be changed. And this will switch everybody to wrapped. So as they're going through the day, they can see that over here on the side. And then the very last step is sending those vouchers out. So this is the point where they get sent to background, and it also comes through for accounting to approve them. You'll see here that it did gray those out so that they can't come in and accidentally change anything, but they can unlock those to make changes. And we also have it open for accounting for you guys to go in, unlock those, and make a change too. So as you're approving the vouchers, if you think something needs to be changed, you can come in and do that on your side as well. And after the point where this gets sent to the payroll company, they will no longer be able to make changes here. So that is where we remove that unlock option. But you can always reach out to us after something's been sent over, typically to Annie, and we can still make a change for you. Just a couple of other features here that you guys might need to be aware of. We do have a history option, which is also available on the accounting side. This is especially helpful for SAG projects. If you get any SAG grievances, you can always check here and see the history of that time card and see that maybe they didn't sign it on time and they're incorrect. They don't actually get to make a SAG claim. It's just really good to know the history of this and also who from the AD team is in there making changes and when they do that. So this is available on the accounting side as well, which I'll show you. But basically, after everything's sent here, the ADs are done unless any dispute comes in which case you have the option to go to those disputes and make those changes and resend those time cards. There is an extras breakdown, which I'll show you. But before I do that, does anyone have any questions on this process?
So Ida has asked, what about AD approval? And so that happens when the vouchers are sent. The, BGPA or the PAs maybe the ones inputting these times. And we do have some projects where the ADs are giving final approval, and they'll be the ones actually sending these vouchers out at the end of the night. So once a voucher is sent, that is the final approval of the AD.
Yep.
And
so to kind of
go ahead.
To kind of visualize what Annie's saying, if it's an instance where the background PA is filling this out, but the second AD wants to come in and approve it before it goes anywhere, typically it would look like this bottom one here for Vance, where the background PA has put all of this information in. And as soon as it says wrap there, that means the background PA is done. That second AD may then come in, preview this or the breakdown, which I'll show you in a minute. And then once they're ready for their approval, they select that and hit send voucher. And that's kind of their final sign off before it goes over to accounting for the payroll approval. Annie, was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
I guess maybe just that we can also set the lock and unlock permissions. So if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so pretty much anything you see here, we have pretty worked out permissions on these to see who has access to what. On all teams. So if you want one background PA to have access, but you want the second AD to have even more access, we can really set it up per person. So if you only want accounting to have the unlock feature, we can open it up just for you and the ADs won't even see that. Or we can assign that to just the second, or however you would want that set up. That's another thing where we have just the default of how most projects do it, but we'll check in with you before the project gets started to see if there's anything specific that you need.
And then Ida also wants to know if there's a way that we can isolate who can approve by user setup.
Yes. Yep. And it'll make a little bit more sense too on the accounting side once I show you that process. And then as these are being filled in through the day, there is an extras breakdown that live updates. So we'll give it a second to load here since it's pulling the live information. It takes a little bit of time. But this will just have all of the time cards through the day as things are being changed. Obviously, I've already sent most of these time cards out, but you would see them change throughout the day as anything was being added. You can also hover to see who's in each row or expand that and see those names there. So typically at the end of the day, the ADs are coming in here, making this look however they need to by adding or taking away columns. And then they can save this as a PDF or as a spreadsheet to put back into Excel or Google Sheets. They can also send it directly. So when the project gets set up, we can add emails here for them so they don't have to type it every time. And they can just hit send there and that will send a PDF of that report to whoever needs it at the end of the day. We can also set it up to automatically send if needed as well. And there is an extras report, which we'll go over as well. That's something that might be a little bit more interesting to you guys, but this is an option on the AD side. Are there any other questions for how the ADs use the platform?
Yeah, I was just wondering about the dispute functionality. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so we'll go to a past dispute here. And then as you can see, it's just right here at the top, but if there were a lot of background, they could filter to just disputed background here. So we'll go ahead and open up their dispute. And then it's really just a pop-up here where they can make any necessary changes and send it back to resolve that dispute. The reason for disputes here at the top. And then if that background is incorrect and the AD knows that they don't need anything changed, they aren't required to change anything. They can leave this as is, put a note on there and send it back to them. And then that also tracks in the history here, which again is available on the accounting side as well. But you can see here that we see their dispute note. If I made a change to it and I responded to them, it would kind of open up like a chat history here where you can see what change was made and also what the response was. Any other questions about the disputes? Great. Yeah, and our team's also very aware of how many disputes are outstanding on a project. We're just kind of checking in on all of the projects as they're going. So if we see a dispute's been there for a couple of days and no one's taking care of it, someone on our customer success team will likely reach out to the ADs and see if there's anything we can do to help resolve that dispute so it's not sitting there for too long. Any other questions on the AD side before I go into accounting?
Oh, could you show edit times? We had a question about if you had entered the lunch times yourself or if it automatically populated that hour. And so on edit times, it will for the meal. No,
Sorry,
right.
what?
Go to edit times. So for like, if you click meal 1, it gives you that 60 minutes automatically. But you can also change that. So there are a couple ways that you can input times in the system. And then also for NDB and Grace, it inputs the correct union amount of time. And that can't be changed since those have to be those amounts of time. So the way that Paige input it.
If you add it here, you also have the same option if you're doing it per vouchers.
And so then that just sets that meal end for you automatically. But if you're doing it by hand, you can set the end time however you want.
And if there's ever anything the ADs notice that they need changed, we do have an in-house engineer team, which we can constantly bring things up with each day. We also meet with them weekly to bring up new features. So small things like the check-in feature, for example, that was something a background PA said that they wanted. And I think we got that built in within a week for them. So little features that maybe we don't already have that would be really helpful. We always tell the ADs to let us know. And we usually check in with them every once in a while just to see if anything has come up, because our engineers are kind of constantly adding new features to the platform. So it's pretty well built out. We haven't had any requests in a while, but we do take those on if any come up. And I guess the last thing I'll show you then before I go into accounting is the note feature here. So if the ADs need to leave a note to you on the accounting side, they can leave a note here and that will follow that voucher for when it comes over to you for approval. They can also use this box to leave a note to each other if there's multiple ADs signing in. And then they can, of course, leave a note to background if they need to send them anything as well. All right, any other questions on the AD side for right now? Okay, great. We will jump into the accounting side then. So after everything's been sent for the day, it looks a bit like this. This is where accounting comes in to approve the vouchers before we send it to the payroll company. So we'll go into the accounting tab here. So these are all fake people. Typically, you might see that they've completed their start work already or they've already signed their time card, and it would be green there and it would tell you that that was completed. But the whole point of this page right here is just to make sure that the gross is correct. They don't get a bunch of extra overtime. The rate is correct. Everything just looks good before we send this to the payroll company. So you can open up each voucher individually like this. Coding is something we will go over in a minute, but that is something that we can add before the project gets started or at any point just to make sure that it goes over when everything goes to the payroll company. So you can view the vouchers this way. You can also use this icon to the right here. And this is going to pop up a PDF version of that voucher that looks just a bit more like a paper voucher. Eventually, this is what background will get on their side as well. And if you like that, you can download everybody here as a paper voucher. So we could download all of those PDFs and go through them all at one time. That's also a feature that you can do in bulk. So if you wanted to download multiple days, an entire month, or even the entire project, you can download all of those vouchers at once as well. So regardless of how you preview these, once you're ready to approve them, you can select them all and hit approve all at one time. But just to kind of show you what happens, I'll go ahead and just do 3 of them here. Hit approve. And now that's changed the approval status, which is your signature, to signed, and it's moved those down. That way, when you sign in, you know you only have to handle the ones there at the top. And you can approve these even if background have not signed or completed their start work. That's something on our side that we're following up with the background to get all of that completed. So as long as the rate is correct and the gross is correct there, you should always sign it. That way, once the background's done, we don't have to ask you to go in and sign it. We can go ahead and just send that through. And that's kind of the last step on your side. It's really just approving this. And then I'm going to let Annie take over and tell you what happens after you've signed this.
Yes. So Ida, yes, on the approval screen, you can sort so that all the same rate and hours are together. There are little sorting icons pretty much everywhere on the platform. It's awesome. I use them all the time when checking things. You can like filter by union statuses if you only want to be approving the union people to make sure that's correct. You can sort by highest to lowest. Yeah, just look at one role type if you know that one role type had a special rate, the role name, just anything. Then you can see just people who have completed their start work, only people who have signed, just everything. You cannot sort by hours on this page. That is
okay, so what I'm
feature
looking for is to see if I can sort it by, just like it would be on the extras breakdown, because that's how I approve them physically, all the ones that are identical and that should have the exact same pay together. So I could see it on the screen so that if I review one and approve it, I can approve them all. If you do it by gross earnings, if one was incorrect, it wouldn't be with that same group. So is there a way to sort them to be identical to the way they are on an extras breakdown?
Not at the moment, but I've just put that request in for our engineers, and that shouldn't be difficult to add.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great request. We've never had that before, but thank you. As Paige said, you can sign even if someone has not yet completed their start work, has not yet signed their voucher. I always encourage you to do that if you see that their rate is correct and it is correct to go to payroll. Especially, this is especially helpful down the road then for if SAG disputes ever come up, because then we can say, no, production had everything in line. Everything was ready to be sent to payroll on production side. It was the, background employee that was holding this up. So I do always recommend that, as soon as you are looking at these, if it's correct, approve it. And then nothing gets sent to payroll until their payroll necessary documents are completed and they have signed the voucher. And like Paige said, we are following up with them every single day for those items. We will go to coding to show that. So we can code. Paige, if you want to go to manage and go to pay items. So we can code for all of these pay items. And within these pay items, we can code for account code, set code, tax code. Okay, you can close out of that. I can see.
There
Yeah. Account code, set code, tax code, fringe code, episode code, location code, and then free field 1 through 3. So we can apply those all to a voucher for all those pay items. And those will automatically then, like, these are the project codes. So anything we set here is applied through the whole project. If you have a, set code, location code, episode code that will be changing, you would just, at the moment, send that to us when it needs to be applied, and we can change that for that date. We are currently working on it so that accountants can code on their own in the system. And we're hoping to have that launched right after the first of the year at the latest. If you are working with GreenSlate, these codes then go straight to them when we send the vouchers straight through the API. So it's a really convenient system. If you want to go back to accounting. So, like I said, nothing gets sent to payroll until the payroll necessary documents are completed. So that would be, the most basic I-9, W-4, state withholding form. New York has a lot more. California has a couple more. We don't hold payroll back for release of name and likeness or an NDA, just because those aren't legally payroll necessary. But once those payroll necessary documents are completed and the background has signed their voucher and you have approved it, then we send it through to the payroll company that your production is working with. If you're working with GreenSlate, it's really easy. I just click, those buttons, and if those were all green, that ready for payroll button would be lit up, and I would just hit it, and it goes directly from our platform to GreenSlate's platform. We have a direct API integration.
I think, and I'm just going to jump in for a second. I just want to add that, we have this API built out for other payroll companies as well as GreenSlate, like Cast and Crew. We're working with other payroll companies as well. So where we don't have an API built out, the data import goes by CSV file. But we have built out these API integrations with most major payroll companies at this point, in addition to GreenSlate. GreenSlate was the first that we did it with, and then we've since expanded into other payroll companies as well.
So the integration with the other payroll companies, they are the CSV imports still. We have integrations, the CSV integrations currently, but GreenSlate goes directly to them with the coding. With Cast and Crew, it is a CSV that they import directly into their system. So that is, all of our payroll integrations are seamless at the moment. And so, sorry, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, and then once it gets to GreenSlate, we can batch them.
I think the point is that we have integrations with all the major payroll companies. So there's no, it's a seamless process with whatever payroll company you're using at this point.
Yes. And then, yeah, with all other payroll companies, it's a download. So again, when I click those off and hit ready for payroll, I get a CSV download. And we upload those to the payroll company platforms. And again, with any of these, we can batch them however you want. So whether it's, you know, by SAG, non-union, stand-in, background, etc., we can batch them like that. We also batch for tax incentive coding. Really, any way that you need us to batch them, we'll batch them for you. The platform is just fully customizable. And however you need payroll pushed and batched, we can do it. And I think really the only other thing is the time cards ready for approval. On this project, it looks really crazy because it's a test project.
You'll never
with a
see this
million
many.
dates.
So at any point when you sign in, if you see this little red dot here on the side, that just means there's some time cards that need approval. If you're doing this daily, typically the only time that's going to pop up is when maybe a dispute's come in from a past day, and it's a good way to alert you to go back to that day. So again, you'll never see this many, but you can just go back to a past date that might need approval. So it's just a good way to know when you sign in, if you see that red bar there, that something needs to be approved. I'm also going to show you the extras report, but Annie, are you done with the process here?
Yes. So someone at Alexandria asked if we can show an edit, and those would come from the payroll company that you are working with. We don't produce the edits, and we don't produce the invoices either. So we're not the payroll company. So any of that information would come from the payroll company and the paymaster that you are working with. So we are we just do the digital start work and the vouchers, and then that goes to the payroll company and paymaster, and then we work with them.
And speaking of start work, I can show you this too. We do have a number of accountants that reach out needing start work towards the end, especially for tax purposes. Again, fake people here, you'll usually see these all completed, but you can come in and view where everything stands with the start work. We can give access to whoever needs access to this. You can just get a brief number breakdown here on what's been completed. And you can also download these. So at the end of the project, if you need to save all of these, you can download them, one PDF per person, or you can get a folder for each person with all of their completed documents. So for tax purposes, if you need these at the end, they're really easy to grab. You can also reach out to us and we can just send them directly to you. I am going to show you the extras report. That's going to kind of be the last thing on the platform. But does anyone else have any questions regarding the accounting process or anything else that we've gone over so far?
Yeah, I just have one question. When you were saying once things are ready for payroll, like, is that something, once you hit ready for payroll, then you guys will handle on your end getting those files to the paymaster, or is that something that we do on our end?
Correct.
Nope, that is all on, that's all on our end. You guys don't come in until the paymaster sends you that edit. We batch it, and then, you know, tell the paymaster that it's, you know, we request previews on Green Slate. We tell the paymasters that those batches are there on the other platforms. So we do, all you guys do is approve it on Everyset, and then you receive the edits from the paymaster. We do the in-between.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay, great. Then I will briefly, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to briefly show you the extras report here. So this is a little bit similar to the extras breakdown, but for you guys, this has the hot costs. So you can see it kind of divided up over here on the side per group. You can also customize this with whatever columns you actually want to see here. It'll have the hot costs also for the entire day here at the top. If you needed to add fringe rates, you can do that by day, or you can also do fringe rates per the entire project. I probably won't show you this because when I share my screen, it gets a bit laggy here, but you can view all days. And again, this project has about 500 days now. So typically you can view all days for the project, and that's going to have the hot cost here at the very top. This can also be saved as a PDF or a spreadsheet, and you can also send it directly as a PDF to whoever you need to. Any questions about the report or anything else?
No,
So,
I just wanted to say that I really love how much you've removed the human error of like mistyping things.
Yeah.
Like entering into the hot cost and you put like 3 extras there instead of 35, and then your hot cost is completely incorrect. It's nice that that's been kind of removed from the process. So it's good on the hot costing side.
We've worked pretty hard with the accountants on what they need to see leading up till now on the extras report, and their feedback has definitely made this pretty seamless.
I just wanted to add a couple things. I'm sorry, Paige, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you done?
I was going to turn it over to you. You're good.
Just to add a couple things, we sort of touched on some of this already. One of the main things that I think I know most of you have seen some sort of digital voucher platform in the past, if not ours, one of our competitors. I think what you'll find, I'm sure what you've seen already, is that our platform is far more robust than any of the other platforms out there. But I think more importantly, what we have that none of the other platforms are offering is 24/7 support for both production and for the background. So we know that one of the most painful points of this process is getting a background actor who's used to filling out a paper voucher to switch over to digital, or a background actor who has used digital before but is nervous about using it, or is not that tech savvy or whatever. It doesn't do it that often. We do have 24/7 support for the background, so we will walk them through the process. And as Paige showed, once casting has onboarded people into the system, the background immediately get a text and email to start the process of onboarding. Our team then starts watching the process to make sure they've opened the email, to make sure that they're filling it out. And we're very much proactive, and we'll reach out to the background to get the process going, so that there's no issue, on set on the day. Most things are already filled out and done. And then the 24/7 support, where you get people like Paige and Annie, who are helping your department through the process, or the AD department if they ever have anything that comes up. So essentially what ends up happening is there's no one on set who's acting as a tech support person for the digital voucher. The PAs don't have to deal with it. The ADs don't have to deal with it. And if you ever have problems, you could always pick up the phone and actually get a person on the phone from our office, and they can help you through whatever needs to be done. In addition, I think that what you'll find, or not in addition, I think that the result of the support is that we end up with no stragglers at the end. I mean, we've come to the point now where we're pretty much at 0 stragglers on almost all of our jobs. So you don't end up having to drag out, the process of trying to wrap out background on a job because you have a couple of background who haven't filled out paperwork or signed something. It doesn't delay things and slow things down. So we're very much on top of it, so that wrap is a piece of cake. What else can I tell you? I think we've already mentioned that we work with all the different payroll companies. We have integrations with everybody out there at this point. And we are approved by all the studios. We've gone through the process, the info security process with all the major studios. So there's no issue, with a studio needing to put us through any sort of infosec stuff to get approval before we can be used, because we've already gone through that hurdle, as well as SAG. we're fully approved by SAG, so there's no issues with any of that. So, whatever payroll company you're using, whatever studio you're with, our solution works. Anybody have any questions? Well, thank you everybody for taking the time today. Feel free. Also, I should mention, we set up this Production Alliance webinar for you guys, and we are going to offer a 25% discount to everybody in the Production Alliance and the Accounting Alliance, excuse me. And so we're going to be sending you guys a PDF, everybody that was in here for this webinar, so that it'll give you a 25% off sort of, I don't want to say coupon, but it's a flyer with a 25% off, and you can reference that on your next project if you're starting something up, and right off the top, we'll cut 25% off of our fee. Anybody else? Anybody have anything they want to add? Any questions?
I'll just add, thank you to everyone who came. We know what a thorn in our side so much of the software that we're forced to use is. I saw Everyset software like a year and a half ago, and I just thought it was what I've seen a lot of the background software. I think this is the best one. And so I just wanted us to have an opportunity to showcase it for y'all. So I hope everyone enjoyed it, and that we know that there are better options out there than what